Happy Linkington's Day, or Washa-Links Day, or whatever. President's Day is so generic. Today, aficionados of either Washington or Lincoln quietly fumed about the fact that those two have been unofficially combined into today's holiday, while our one and only current president was himself on the move. President Obama flew from a weekend at home in Chicago back to Washington. He's getting ready for a Tuesday trip to Denver to sign the $787 billion economic stimulus bill. After that, the president is reportedly going to announce his much-anticipated plan to help homeowners in a speech in Arizona. Then on Thursday, Mr. Obama will make his first trip as president to a country on the metric system, Canada. What the president hasn't firmly scheduled is a decision about war, about how many further American troops will be deployed to Afghanistan, and most critically, what the American mission will be in Afghanistan during the Obama administration. Today on Air Force One, the White House press secretary, Robert Gibbs, said the president's decision on Afghanistan will be made within days, not weeks, which is exciting. Except we keep hearing that. Here, for example, was Defense Secretary Bob Gates saying that very same thing last Tuesday.
The president will have several options in front of him, and I think he will make those decisions probably in the course of the next few days.
We keep hearing this "in a few days" speculation about when Obama is going to state his goals for Afghanistan. Maybe ultimately this decision is taking more time than anyone expected. Today, Politico.com reports that what was assumed to be a limited, specific thumbs down or more likely thumbs up decision on sending more troops to Afghanistan now is instead being considered in a lot of depth. Citing unnamed officials familiar with White House deliberations, Politico reports, quote, Obama and his aides are questioning the timetable, the mission, and even the composition of the new forces. You know what this means? It means delay on a new Afghanistan plan, surely, but it also means a war that is not on autopilot, which seems promising for Washington politics about the war. Much less promising are the politics on the ground in the region. On Saturday, for example, President Obama's envoy to Afghanistan and Pakistan, Richard Holbrooke, he met with Afghanistan President Hamid Karzai. Late that night after they met, there was a surprise announcement that Karzai and Holbrooke would do a press conference the next morning, which is very neat. But then, according to the AP, quote, after Karzai aides canvassed the room to see what journalists wanted to ask, reporters were told that no questions would be allowed. Karzai actually told the reporters, according to the AP, quote, these reporters are doing very bad things. We are not answering their questions. Oh, democracy. Over the border in Pakistan, we've got news that the government, a provincial government there, will allow for Islamic law to be imposed in the Swat Valley. That's a key demand of the militants who have been fighting there for months. We've also got reports of 2 new U.S. drone missile strikes in Pakistan. We need to know what the plan is going to be here. And most of all, we need it to be a really, really good plan. Joining us now is Nancy Youssef, who is Pentagon correspondent for McClatchy Newspapers. Ms. Youssef, thanks for joining us. Nice to see you again.
My pleasure. Thank you.
President Obama is delaying an announcement, at least for the meantime, on troop levels in Afghanistan. Do you think that is a sign of strength, a sign of weakness, or a sign of complex thinking here?
Well, I think it's a sign that that there needs to be a strategy agreed upon before those troops are deployed, so that it's clear what their mission is, how many troops are needed, where they need to be placed, what kind of support and equipment they need. And I think before there was a real enthusiasm to back General McKiernan's request for 4 brigades. And as the discussion and the strategy reviews go on, there's a realization that perhaps they need to really answer the basic question, what is the end state, before the troop deployments go out.
Well, what are the range of options? What are the possibilities that President Obama is choosing between?
Well, General McKiernan, who's the top commander in Afghanistan, has asked for 4 brigades, and originally the idea was that most of those would go in the south, where the narco-trafficking happens in Taliban and what funds the Taliban's forces and equipment. And now we're hearing that it might be just 1 brigade. One of the things that they have to balance is not just the needs in Afghanistan, but the troop demands in Iraq. At this point, they have about the option of about 2 brigades, but as they can pull troops from Iraq, then that gives them more options to send more troops into Afghanistan. The other thing they have to factor in is the time it takes to train those troops. Right now, those troops are training for Iraq because they're expecting to go to Iraq, and it'll take at least 2 months to train them towards Afghanistan. So those all the factors that sort of come into play. We've heard as little as 1 brigade going into Afghanistan. So at this point, we're assuming somewhere between 1 and 4 brigades.
In terms of thinking about the overall region and stability issues and how governance interacts with military goals in this region, we've learned that a provincial government in Pakistan has come to some sort of attempted negotiated peace with militants in the Swat Valley. Do you think that the Taliban will see that as a win? And will that be seen as a plus or minus for our overall political work in Afghanistan?
Well, it gets to that bigger question of what kind of government do we think would best function in Afghanistan. Before, there was a real push to back Hamid Karzai in a more centralized government, and that appears to not have worked. They call Hamid Karzai the mayor of Kabul because his reach is only that far, and there's been a real discussion that perhaps they need to have a more decentralized approach. There's also been talk about negotiating with the Taliban, and as high as Mullah Omar. The United States hasn't supported this, but some in Afghanistan do. So I think the agreement that happened in Pakistan, I think, brings up that question again about what kind of negotiations need to happen with the Taliban. Can they be co-opted into the governance of Afghanistan? And how far up the Taliban can the United States accept Afghanistan going? But I think going ahead, negotiations with the Taliban will happen. Remember that the word Taliban, there is very varied types of Taliban. The military calls big T Taliban and little T Taliban. Big T, the ones that they can't negotiate with, and little T, the ones that sort of enter for financial reasons or because they were forced to enter. So I think there's this feeling that there are a lot of people that they can negotiate with. It's just a matter of figuring out who. But the negotiations in Pakistan certainly is something to look at in terms of what kind of negotiations going forward in Afghanistan.
Nancy Youssef, the Pentagon correspondent with McClatchy Newspapers. I'm a real fan of your work. I read everything that you write for McClatchy, and I thank you for taking time to join us today.
Thank you.